Okay, it's already 11:04, and I will begin today's conversation and episode of Ignite Talks with, let's call it a special event. So, as you may see from the title, well, hello everybody, and welcome to the fifth episode of Ignite Talks. We're really excited to have you here. Today's episode, we've had a small catastrophe, to call it in such a manner. Today's speakers are going to be Ivan and Emilio, and we're very excited. Oh, yeah. Sorry, I got a message. And we're very excited to hear their talks. But sadly, it seems like we can't get in contact with Emilio. He's having some technical difficulties, and it seems like he won't be able to make it. Still, the show must go on. So, in the absence of my fellow friend, I am going to be taking over the position of the first talk. So, it's already 11:05, and I'm going to begin the conversation by switching off my camera and pulling up my screen. Number one here. I'm gonna pull up a camera right here. And just please confirm that everybody can see me and see the presentation.
Yeah, we can.
Great. Okay. So before beginning anything, I want to extend an apology to all of you patrons who came here to see the episode with Emilio and Ivan. Sadly, that's just life. There's moments where we have connectivity issues, maybe the weather's going bad. There's X or Y set possibilities that may have happened to Emilio. Let's hope he's fine, but that he's not able to join today. So, in light of that, we're not going to stop the show. We're going to take that as an advantage and we're going to use it to deliver what I think is the best lesson that anybody can share with you guys. And that is adaptability. So, in this ever expanding world where we're asked to do every single thing that we can, to learn all that we can, one of the best abilities that we can have as people is to be able to adapt. Every single thing that may happen around us, we're able to overcome it and become better people because we adapt to the situations that we are faced with and we learn lessons from that. So I'm gonna explain to you guys a little bit about the formula of Ignite Talks. Uh, I'm gonna give you a behind the scenes of it, and then I'm gonna go into a story. But before that, I do want to break the scheme and the mold a little bit by giving you the first lesson of today, which is this whole situation. Me as the host, I have to adapt to the situation where one of my speakers can come, and I'm not about to leave you guys without any content. So, in the light of experience of what's happening right now, I think there's no better example of the word adaptability, adapting to the current circumstances that we're facing. So, again, breaking the mold and giving you the lesson right now, this is adaptability. Adaptability. Able to just, at a moment's notice, being able to say, hey, Emilio's not here. What are we going to do? And saying, hey, I'm ready to take a risk, bite the bullet, and go in front of all of you guys to try and give you the best quality content that I can in what has been a 20-minute interval. And I can go on in its own talk about risk management, adaptability. They were all like inside the library of possible. I opted out of it. So I'm not going to dwell into that much. And now I am going to explain why this is taking place. Why am I taking this opportunity to address all of you in a conversation? And this is the behind the scenes part. So Ignite Talks has always, important. This is the beginning of the presentation. So the lesson I'm going to be giving you guys today is the name of the talk is going to be asking that person out. And I'm going to go throughout an embarrassing quote unquote story that happened to me that made me the person that I am today. But before that, I'm going to talk to you a little bit about some of the behind scenes. And I will usher in an apology to all of you guys. This was all very impromptu, so the presentation may not be as pretty as it could be, but it's there. So I've already talked about adaptability. And now I'm going to talk a little bit about the Ignite Talks formula. What we always aim here to do is for the presenters to be able to have an opportunity to speak in an informal manner. The stakes aren't that high. It's something that we are able to just practice here, and you as the patrons are able to give us feedback. We as well are able to give you lessons back. So it's a win-win situation. But in order to facilitate the gathering of information, Ignite Talks has always worked under the assumption, under the speculation of the term information disassociation. Information disassociation works around the notion that we're able to learn more about a subject if we're able to separate it from the notion that it may be tedious to learn it or it may be something bothersome. So let's put up this setup right now. It's currently 11:09. I checked my wrist. I didn't have a watch. I remember I have it here. So it's currently 11:10 here in Mexico. Right now I'm working. It's working hours for the company Atos. So my whole demeanor throughout the day has to be professional. Has to be of someone who's willing to learn, talk, do everything in order to get my job done. So what happens? There's some people and some individuals who, when faced with the situations where we're issued to learn or to work in this environment, we can thrive. We can learn more and we can continue on developing. There's some people who face this natural to learning in these sorts of environments where we're working. Right now, we're just working and that's what we're doing. So the term information disassociation works with the notion that if you're able to put information or a learning term into simpler words, you're able to adapt it into your mind better. The classic example of this is when you're in school learning mathematics, if they're just writing down formulas and maths, you may look at them and understand them and write them down. But a couple of years down the line, that information may disappear from your mind and you may need to relearn it. Whilst in a more advanced example, one that happens to all of us daily, is something called meme economy. Now, I know that some of you may not be as knowledgeable as in memes as the most of the younger generations, but makes us so memes are a format in which we tell jokes or we tell stories, very short stories, and we laugh around them all. What meme economy entails is that we all have inherently learned about economy from memes. From right now to 2021, and we can laugh at it. We can show it to people, and they to older generations or to newer generations, and they may not laugh because they are not acquainted with that meme yet. But at the same time, I, Ricardo Reyes, when I'm 24 years old, I can see a meme from 2010 and still laugh at it. For example, right now the image being shown is a meme that it says, "Is this a butterfly?" And it's a Japanese character showing a butterfly, and the protagonist saying something like, "Is this a butterfly?" And people changed it in order to, because it's obvious it's a butterfly and it's the translation issue. So they put it up to, "Oh, is this equality?" And then they put a lot of silly things on the board. What happens, and that we don't realize, is that the economy. Uh, I'm trying to work here with the very basic economy facts because I don't remember too much about it. But we know when something is in demand and something is in high demand and in high response. Everybody sees a lot of very recent memes and it's all the rage, and you see them all around and you're laughing around all of them because they have a high demand and they have a high pay. Everybody's demanding them, everybody's buying them, everybody knows about the current memes. But what about the old ones? The old ones used to be in high demand and we used to all know them, but now we don't. We remember them, but we don't use them regularly. It's that sort of notion that changes from, "Oh, that's a very old meme, that doesn't make me laugh anymore." We're not buying into that meme, but we used to buy into it. And literally, that's the first, if I'm not wrong, of course, that's the first lesson of economy: demand and pay. The more you demand a product, the more the price goes up, the more people want to consume it. So it's the same with memes. You see a current meme, everybody's passing them around, you want to buy into it, and it makes you laugh. But if when that meme dies down and its demand starts going down, the pay starts going down. It stops making you laugh. So most of the millennial generation inherently learned about economics, even if they don't realize it yet. But okay, all of that is to say that the first talk of Ignite Talks, the experience talk, is set up to disassociate you guys from the learning that's about to happen in the second talk. The second talk of Ignite Talks is always a technical talk, something that's a little bit more dry and rough on the mind. It's something that we need to pay attention in order to understand it. But the first conversation, the first talk, is always centered around an experience, something that we can all share, something that we all share in common, or that we can all feel adapted to. Last Ignite Talks, we had Dhruvi talk to us about how her hardships was from moving to India to the United States. And as someone from Mexico, that's something very relatable. Not knowing the language, not knowing that you need a car. There's a lot of things that I felt empathetic with Dhruvi. And then when she was done and Antonio came in to talk about cybersecurity, I was able to digest all of that up because I broke my environment of professionalism. I was able to transport myself into an environment of this is a conversation with somebody. I'm learning something from a friend. So when Antonio comes in and shoves into our minds the whole cybersecurity issue, it's more easily to digest all of that knowledge. So we always aim for that formula because we want you guys to be able to learn a little bit about these experiences as well as practice ourselves. So this all happens inadvertently. It happens in the formula of the talks. So with all of that in mind, with the whole information disassociation, meme economy, and the structure of Ignite Talks, I will now do my best to talk to you about an experience that I lived when I was in high school. So now jumping onwards to the story. When I was in high school, I used to see a girl called, I'm not going to say her name, I'm going to call her A, just A. I'm going to write the letter because my pronunciation may be a little bit skeptic. A. And during that time, I used to be a very shy person, a very introvert person. I didn't used to be as outgoing as I may seem right now. And when I saw her, I just knew that I wanted her to know that I existed. It was a very basic notion. I wanted her to know that I existed. I didn't want to go out with her. I didn't want to like anything with her. I just wanted her to know that I existed. And at that point in time, again, I was not an easy person to talk to communicate to, or I didn't have that ease of going up to her and saying, "Hey, hello, pleasure to meet you. My name is Ricardo." I was a very shy person. So this whole notion story revolves around the time when I asked her out. And what happens, I'm going to give you a little bit of a context. I used to have a lot of classes with her during the first semester because we had a common tree, which is the beginning of the semester. You start going into very I'm forgetting the name, common topics like mathematics, algebra, computer science, very basic things. And then in the second and third year, you go into more specified routes into what you're interested in. So during my first semester, I saw her and I wanted to meet her. Then during my second semester, I started to get the courage to say, hey, I'm going to go and ask her. I'm going to go and talk to her. I'm going to establish myself as a person. And I never could do it. After 6 to 7 months, I was never able to say anything to her. Maybe a couple of conversations, something like, hey, can I borrow a pen? Something super basic, but we never established conversation and first names. And what happened was that at the end of the second semester, we were about to part ways, and I didn't know if I was going to see her again. Now, I do want to remind you guys, I was 17, 18 maybe? I was very young. I didn't get the notion of, hey, well, we'll see where it goes. And I used to tell to my friends all the time, like, hey, I'm going to ask her out. One day I'm just going to ask her out. And I had that young bravado that I think we all had at one point where we just like to talk, but we never fall in love with those things. And one day, it was nearing the end of the semester where I told one of my friends called Ivan, hey, actually, great coincidence with Ivan here today, that's who's going to give the second talk. I was walking through the library with Ivan, and we were going to the cafeteria to grab some lunch. And I was really fired up. It was like we had like 4 to 5 days left at school, and I was telling him like, next time I see her, I'm gonna do it. You're gonna see. And he was just telling me like, dude, you're never gonna do it. You're very afraid. And out of the corner of my eye, I saw her in the library. And being the discreet person I am, I was like, just try your best not to let him know that she's there. And I did. I immediately turned the other way, but like hard. I think my neck almost like got strained or something. And he immediately noticed, looked at her, looked at me, and said, "You go?" Like, then he started taunting me, like, "You were all this macho, like, oh yeah, I'm gonna do it, but now she's right there. Go and do it." And being provoked by a friend always kind of works. At least here in Mexico, there's a phrase that they use when you don't want to do things, but they're like saying like, "Hey, scare the cat," and then you just go and do it. So he told me to do it. He pressured me or challenged me to do it, and I did. I went up to her, and I did exactly every single thing you shouldn't do. I was really nervous. I was really afraid. And I still remember it to this day, walking up to her, trembling, like just fear in my blood, trembling and going up to her saying, like, "Oh, hi, A." And I don't know, something in my mind connected. And it was like, just be honest, and we'll see where it goes. So I told her the truth. I told her, like, "Hey, I've seen you around the school a couple of times. I think you're very pretty, and I've never had the opportunity to talk to you." Of course, right now I'm articulating it perfectly, but at that moment, imagine me just trembling, going like, "Yeah, you're very pretty," and stuff like that. And I told her, like, "Hey, would you like to go out this weekend to for ice cream?" I think I told her for ice cream or for coffee. And she was very like weirded out about it, but she was very kind, and she told me, "Oh, I can't this weekend. This weekend, I can't." And me being the genius I am, I immediately told her, "Okay, well, thank you so much for everything. I really had to try it at least once. Well, hope you have a great day." And left. And left. And I immediately went to my friend Ivan and I was like, "Let's get out of here. Like, I just embarrassed everything out of myself. I just want to go grab lunch." And we went to grab lunch. And whilst we were grabbing lunch with more of my friends, I told them what just happened. And they were all very proud of me, but they immediately started telling me that I was, I don't want to use a bad word around here, but I am in this case, so sorry about it. They told me I was an idiot. They told me, "Dude, that was the moment you say, how about next week?" She didn't tell you no. She told you this weekend she couldn't. That's the moment, and they just started telling me off for like 20 minutes. I asked her 30 minutes ago, and in 5 minutes, I was being berated by my friends. Like, "You really screwed it up. We're happy that you tried. We're really proud of you, but you really screwed it up like big time. You should have just gone for it, X, Y, Z." And in that moment, I don't know, something came over me. I was really angry that they were right. She didn't tell me no. She told me maybe. And again, this was a girl that I just wanted her to know that I existed. So something again primordial in me went, "You know what? I'm gonna go back. I'm gonna go back and talk to her." And immediately all my friends went, "Are you crazy?" And they just started again, like, "No, dude, just sit down. You just got to learn to let it go. Don't go." But I was fired up. I was so fired up. I just stood up and said, "I'll see you in a minute." And I left. And I left and I went back to the cafe to the library. And I saw her, and this time I was really fired up. I was like, "Okay, you know what? I already screwed it up. I already messed it up. What's the worst that could happen?" So I started walking to her, and she like we caught each other's eye, and she was like, "Oh, oh, you're back." And I could see it in her face. She was like, "Oh." So I came up to her and I told her, "Hello, this time in this demeanor, way more calm than my first time." I told her, "Hey, sorry, can I talk to you a little bit?" And she said, "Sure, what's up?" And I explained to her again what had just happened, being honest with her. I told her, "Look, this is not something I normally do. I was very nervous last time. Sorry if I scared you a little bit or if it sounded a little bit intense. It's something I normally don't do. But hey, you said that you couldn't this weekend. How about next week?" And she told me, "Yeah, sure. Let me check my schedule and I'll get back to you. But I'd be down to do something." And in that moment, I just flipped. I was so happy. I told her, "Okay, well, we'll talk later. I hope you have a great day, whatever." And I went back to my friends and I gave them the good news. I didn't get a yes, I got a maybe. But it used to be a no. I changed a no to a maybe. So I was so ecstatic. I was so happy about what I had just achieved, that I forgot about everything. And I just celebrated with my friends. We got lunch. It was a great day. Sadly, 3 days down the line, I saw her again and I told her, like, "Hey, did you check your schedule? What's up?" And she told me, like, she was very honest with me. She told me, I would rather not go. And I told her, you know what? That's 100% acceptable. And I didn't mind at all because I had already turned a no into a maybe. And that just felt amazing. And it filled me with pride because I was so afraid the first time that even if she said no at the end, it was just like, oh, well, what can you do about it? But again, yeah, I was so excited, but still, it's not all fairy tales and happy endings for everybody. So, what do I want to convey to you guys with this whole, with what happened to me? What happened to me is that we cannot be afraid to fail. We cannot be afraid to fail in the face of rejection. We cannot fear rejection. But at the same time, even if we do fail and we feel rejected, if it's because of a misunderstanding or if there's something that you feel like could be addressed inside that failure, you should learn from it and you should owe up to your mistakes. I owed up to my mistake and I went back to her and I changed the no to a yes. So this is something that I will now want to share with you guys, which is my abuela, my grandmother's conventional wisdom that helped me in those moments. She has three amazing quotes that I've always used in my life. And after that incident, I felt like they all added up. They all made sense. The first one is you already have the no. Ya tienes el no. What are you afraid of? You already have the no. You should fight for the yes. Of course, not being too intense about it like I was, but whatever. The second one was shame. Shame that they catch you stealing, which in Spanish is a little bit more, it rolls off the tongue. Pena, pena que te cachen robando, which is true. Why should you feel ashamed or afraid of asking anybody anything or asking them out when it's not something that you should be you should feel shame about? If you're gonna feel shame, it should be because you're doing something illegal, like stealing. Please don't steal. I'm not endorsing stealing. Please don't. And lastly, love and death from heaven come. Amor y mortaja del cielo baja. Meaning you should never be too preoccupied with when you're going to fall in love, when you're going to ask a girl out, when you're going to do X, Y, and Z. You should never be, I'm forgetting the name, the word for it, but you should never feel pressured about it. It's something that eventually happens and we should enjoy the ride as long as we have. So with that, I want to draw the conclusion to the first talk by telling you guys the conclusion out of everything that had happened during that very brief, short period of time, which is you should never be afraid to fail. In my situation, I had a friend with me, Ivan, who pushed me to not be afraid to fail. And funny story, after telling him like, hey, Ivan, I just did it, she said no. He smiled, he hugged me, he said, I'm so proud of you. I would have never done it. And I immediately told him that he was, you know, well, I'm not going to say the word, but you can imagine what I told him. I told him, you know. But again, even after I failed and everybody told me and berated me because I had failed, I didn't fail, I just failed to notice the situation. I went back and owned up to my mistake. I told her I was very afraid of the situation. It's not something I normally do. And I was honest with me, with her, and with the whole situation and changed the no to maybe. And lastly, with this whole presentation that has gone down, with this explanation in this format, be adaptable, guys. You never know when you're going to be in the same situation I was, where I was just being cocky, presumptuous, and going like, yeah, I'll ask her out next time I see her. And then my friend saying like, she's right there. And I just had to adapt to the situation. Went up to her, made a catastrophe from the situation, but then adapted back to it. Adapted to that catastrophe and tried my best to fix it. And even if I didn't fix it, because not everything is happy endings, I still learned so much. I would say that that made me the person that I am right now because I'm no longer afraid of asking questions, of standing up to people and saying anything. That embarrassing situation really gave me the lessons that allowed me right now to stand up to you guys with zero material, only a story, and a 20-minute worked on PowerPoint presentation. So yeah, thank you so much for your time. I really hope that you enjoyed the first impromptu and express session of Ignite Talks. We're gonna take a quick 5-minute break, and we will be back at 11:35 to hear from Ivan about learning to and from machine learning. Thank you so much, everybody.